Let's look at another number line. So before we start, let's review some vocabulary. A number line, it's just a line in which numbers are marked in a specific pattern. And the span is the total distance between the beginning point and the ending point. And the ticks are the little lines used to represent the patterns or the intervals of the number. There can be different tick sizes to represent different patterns. So the directions for this number line say that it spans 0 to 10, and we're to put a check on all the halves. And then it gives us an example of what halves is, which is 5/10, 1 and 5/10, 2 and 5/10, 3 and 5/10, etc. So let's start with the line span. So if this line spans 0 to 10, what that means is the beginning point is going to be where the 0 is, and the ending point is going to be where the 10 is. And now we're going to figure out the pattern of the bigger ticks. So this space is from 0 to 10. So we're going to be counting by 1s or 2s or 5s or counting by something to get to 10. In this case, I think it's 1 because it looks like there's about 10 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if your pattern ends out correctly, you know you made the right choice on your interval. Now we're going to kind of look at the small ticks. So what we can do to figure out the small ticks is just look at one whole number. So from 0 to 1, and think about how many parts are in between 0 and 1. We want to count the spaces, not the ticks. So if we count the spaces, we can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spaces. So this whole number, 0 to 1, is broken into 10 pieces. So each of these little ticks represents a tenth. So this first tick would be where 1/10 would end up being. The second tick would be 2/10, and so forth. So at this point, if you go past the 1, now the first small tick is going to be 1 and 1/10. 1 and 2/10, 1 and 3/10, 1 and 4/10. So the next part of the direction says, put a check on all the halves. Well, I think we all know that the half is just the halfway point between two numbers. So the half between 0 and 1 would be about right here, the halfway point. The halfway point between 1 and 2 would be about right there. And you can just tell by looking where the half of a number would be. But on the directions, it says that the halves will be at 5/10 and 1 and 5/10 and 2 and 5/10 and 3 and 5/10. So let's talk about why a half can be 5/10. How can a half be 5/10? You first want to remember that 5/10 can also be written as a fraction, 5/10. So basically, we can cut out this middle number and say that a half equals 5/10. And let's talk about why that's true. So if you have a shape that you've broken into half and you've colored in one of those halves, you have shaded 1/2 of the shape, or 1 out of 2 pieces. But what if this same shape was broken into smaller pieces? What if it was broken into 10 pieces? Now this shape has 10 pieces, or a denominator of 10. Well, if it's going to be equivalent to 1 out of 2, that means that out of our new pieces, 5 of them should be shaded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it was true. So we can see that 1/2 of a shape is exactly 5/10 of a shape. So that's why our decimal must be 0.5. When we see 0.5 or 5/10, we know that's the halfway point. And we have to go through that extra step because remember, decimals can only be in tenths or hundredths or powers of 10. So 5/10, anywhere you see 5/10 is going to be the halfway point between the next whole number. So here, if we're going to put a check on all the halves, the first half is going to be 5/10. So remember we said this is 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10. The check would be right there. So it says 1 and 5/10. So this is 1, so 1 and 1/10, 1 and 2/10, 1 and 3/10, 1 and 4/10, 1 and 5/10. And notice that is halfway between 1 and 2. All of the 5/10 are going to be halfway between the whole numbers. All right, you try it on your own now, and if you need help, you can always come back and rewatch the video. Good luck!